All right, all right, all right. I'm back and surprise, Lonnie. There's a lot of things I gotta take you know, but before we do all that, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a surprise live with me and my friend, my boy, a guy that we share a lot of anime opinions.
hmm
Lonnie, say hello to the people.
What up? What up?
All right, and this is also an impromptu face reveal. I've never revealed my face on my channel, by the way, Lonnie, until
Oh,
now.
really?
Yeah, for some reason I've ever just been like uncomfortable doing it on my channel, but I can go on PC and do it and whatever.
Ah, got you.
But once again, this is my friend Lonnie. We're about to have an honest conversation about Sword Art Online. I'm tired of taking pot shots in my videos, and I know I've been gone for a minute, so I apologize for that. But we're gonna have an honest conversation about Sword Art Online, and then we're also gonna drop a big announcement about the future of this channel and something that me and Lonnie have been working on in the meantime. But Lonnie, before we really get into it, tell the people about yourself and then tell me about your experience with Sword Art Online, and then we'll start going from there.
Well, I'm just a huge anime nerd. Like my whole family is built around anime. My mom, dad, siblings, we all been watching it. I've been watching it since I was a kid. So I probably forgot more anime and manga than most people have ever read.
Mm.
So decided to just start talking about it out of nowhere. And Sword Art Online, I think I told you before, it's like a Lamborghini that's being driven by a kid into like a ditch. Like the premise, like if you really think about Sword Art Online, like the start of it was amazing. The start of it is like kind of like launched isekai type animes into like what it is now. Like it was like the isekai's Dragon Ball Z. The first 14
Mm.
episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, it just went downhill. And there's so many things, whether it's plot holes or them just going way left or dude stating his cousin basically, like things like that. It's just there's like so many different things. Like it's such Sword Art Online itself is it's such an enigma because there's so many things that are right about it
Mm-hmm.
just naturally, but then they also do so many things that just ruin what because honestly it could have been like top 5 top 10 all time, but it ends up just being kind of C tier.
I've always thought that analogy that you use, because what I do in a lot of my videos, especially when I talk about East guys, I just throw pot shots at Sword Art Online because I'm just because, like you said, it's a perfect analogy. It's a Lamborghini. You give it to a kid, and he just crashes into a ditch. The premise of Sword Art Online is fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And I have this thing. This is where I feel. The minute they leave Ironcrad, it's over. Like it's done. It's so crazy that they never should have left. Like for instance, I'm not gonna sit here and talk like, oh, no, no, let's do it like this way. Let's just go over the strengths before we tear it down. What, in your opinion, Lonnie, are the strengths of Sword Art Online?
The original world building and setup was really good. So like how like everything was set up. Now at the same time, the fact that like oh they just can't take the helmets off or their brains will fry. That was kind of like okay, like I see like you're just pushing it for the plot, but in reality that's just kind of stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Um and the fact that no one for years can just figure out how to like fix these people's helmets so they don't get their brains fried, also stupid. But no, like so Kiriko in the beginning he was a pretty dope character. His relationships that he was building, like the whole guild aspect, the whole like you were actually like watching someone like be in an RPG, and the world building in that aspect
Mm-hmm.
was pretty good. Now, also the another problem with SOE is like a lot of their pluses are also a lot of their minuses. So like with Kiriko and stuff like that, like where like they didn't really ever get into depth about the other beta testers and stuff like that. We're just like, oh, they're in the front lines. Don't worry about it. But like, yo, shouldn't some of these guys be like as strong as Kiriko, if not stronger, and stuff like that?
Absolutely.
But do we
Oh,
get to see them? No. Do we get, like we just like, oh yeah, they're like in the front line somewhere. They're doing their own thing. Like, okay. So that kind of takes away. So it's just like, oh, so we had just one OP character, and everyone else is just behind. There are other OP characters, but we know nothing about them.
mm-hmm.
Um. Also, I feel like when it comes to what was it, Asuna or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, like how she got into the guild that she got in, and like the procedures for that and stuff like that. I wish they delve more into that,
Mhm.
like how like you join a big guild, like what comes with it. Um, I would say like a negative is definitely their villains because Loki, all their villains suck. All their villains suck.
All their villains suck and also want to just basically what do you
If I
call it?
remember correctly, the
Commit
first
sexual assault. That's what
yeah,
they
if
all
I
want to
remember
do.
the first villain, the one that like made the helmets and everything like that, he didn't even say like he had like a motive for doing it. He's like, oh, I imagine like myself in a big castle, whatever, and
Mhm.
here we are. So it's like, oh, he's not evil. He doesn't have any intentions. He's just doing it just to do it. Like
Mhm.
that was kind of anticlimactic because it was like a whole big thing in the beginning was like, yo, why is this like famous world person doing it? And at the end, it was nothing. Like you think we have like some mastermind type plan or some like super sad backstory. No,
Mhm.
it's just like whatever. Uh, and then when they get into like what Gun Gale and the guy that's killing Gun Gale, it's its own trash box of
Ironically,
whatever.
have you seen the spin-off movie for that? I
No, I
like that.
refuse. Oh,
I
you
like
do?
the spin-off of
I
it.
might have to check it out.
There's
I might
this
have to check
it's
it
I
out.
believe it's on Netflix. I can't remember what it's called, but it follows a completely separate person. And I like that because it's like it makes sense. But how about this? Let's do it like this. I agree with you. The work at times is very well done. And I think there are certain things that I would change to kind of
Right.
make it work. For instance, Alicization, right? I thought if I'm being 100% honest, for as much as I hate Sword Art Online, I thought most of that season was fantastic in a way to
Yeah.
showcase that the show is a lot more than just Kirito, right?
Yeah, and
And
like a big thing about Alicization is like because it talks about like stuff that we're dealing with now, like with AIs and like so
mhm,
what if Siri or Alexa had feelings and stuff like that? Like
mhm,
you like it makes you think about like how nowadays like we're so much in the virtual world that like it is whether we like it or not, like our virtual world is just as impactful as like the reality world. And so like having like actual beings and stuff like that in there that matter, I feel like they showed a great aspect of like what defines a person, what defines a soul, things like that. Like what is truly a person. So that part with Sword Art Online, they did really well. Now again, kind of making Kiriko useless in a lot of ways
I
was
like the idea. I like the idea.
I like the idea of it, but it's like how they did. It's like again, it's like you have a good idea, you have a good setup, but like the delivery is never really there. So it's like I loved a lot of things about Alicization, and I hope like because I think what they're getting another season soon or whatever,
I don't
probably
know.
next.
I haven't. I just like I'm always like there's another season of Sao out, and I'm like, is it gonna get better? And then surprisingly, season 3 and season 4 for me, I was like, okay, I see what you're building it. Like, mind you, these should have just been floors in Ironcrad, in my opinion. They should just be climbing up. And even like you said with the beta testers, that should just be its own guild. They should feel like they're above the rest of the players because
Because they should
yeah,
be.
we were like we're the ones who played the game before, so we're gonna work for ourselves. And if Kirito is the one that's like, no, we should help out the others, right? And then maybe Asuna is a big reason of why he feels that way. And then you can do that. I'll say this, another strength that I think when they truly try is very well done is Kirito's relationship with Asuna is a pretty, especially compared to other isekai relationships. I think it's very good. Now, mind you, I don't think that that's the best ship in the show. I like Shion so much better than Asuna. It's not even funny. She's a sniper. She got a bow in the game. When she goes to the actual game, I like her a lot more.
Yeah, I like. I think it would have been better if they were introduced at the same time
Mm,
because I feel like in some ways she's a better fit,
mhm.
but Asuna like also because like a thing with like Sword Online, like they kept on like progressing through time and stuff like that, which I understand because they want to like move along the story, but like there was still like some things missing when it came to like the building of the relationship with Asuna that I wish like happened. Like it happened like later on, like after the fact, it's like oh yeah, now they're together and here it is. But it's like some of like the beginning connecting stuff is like what I feel is lacking.
So I think a lot of people, I kind of go into it in my Mushoku Tensei video. When you get a chance, Lonnie, check it out on my channel. But I talk a little bit about the history, about the rise of isekai at the time, like into what it is today. Obviously, isekais have always been around. You
Hmm.
know, this isn't something new, but they really gained prominence when Sword Art Online came out. And the craziest part is, if you gotta go back and look at it, you had these basically four amazing stories drop around the same time on Shueisha, that web novel where writers start coming out. Sword Art Online comes out, Mushoku Tensei comes out, Overlord comes out, and the time I was reincarnated as slime all come out around the same time on that site. And ironically, Mushoku Tensei just the one that got picked up last because, like you and I, so which you're also fans of Mushoku Tensei, it's a harder story to adapt than the other three, right?
Yeah, I feel like
So,
it is the best one, but
mhm. So
no.
with Sword Art Online coming out, with its God damn, every time I just look at wasted
Where does it
potential.
rank among like all those four? Is it definitely just dead last? Because like it's, I feel like in terms of quality overall, it's dead last, but like its impact is probably number one.
I would agree with its impact being number one, and I also feel like it has the most money thrown into it. Look at it; it's had so many movies, and also says something that they keep
Video
retconning.
games.
Yeah, they keep retconning the start of the show. Like all of a sudden, Asuna. They, by the way, it's kind of weird that there's like no regulations for real about AI in that world after everything that's happened after the first one, and immediately right after that, the Alfheim mark, which is
Hmm.
bad, right? But he gets away with it, and nobody's like, maybe we should do something about this. And then Gun Gale, somebody's literally getting killed, still nothing. Even in the Alicization, the fact that an AI leaves that game and goes into the real world, and she's just able to like what ship herself in a box to Kirito's house is crazy. It's crazy, but that's like
Yeah,
these are
because
real
like
world things
people like
that.
say like, oh, those aren't plot holes because it's just a part of the story, but it's like it's still plot carelessness. It's still plot. It's like disingenuous to say like, oh, like yeah, this is just not a reach. It's like no, it's like they're definitely reaching with like a lot of these plots, and it's like a lot. They're just ignoring a lot of things that would actually happen like in this situation.
Mhm.
So yeah, Gun Gale. I don't even want to like. Parts of my brain doesn't even want to consider it like Sword Art Online because like
He
it
just
also was
uses
like it was
he
like
just uses a lightsaber. He just bro. They even steal the sounds of the. If I'm Disney, I'm hot. Like, yo, what are we doing here? He just uses a lightsaber and he's always deflecting bullets. All right, bro. I can't.
and
I
like
just can't.
what irritated me the most about Gun Gale was like its transition from like the end of Gun Gale right back to like Sword Art Online.
Right?
I was like, oh, so we're right back at square one. We're just supposed to act like none of this happened. Like, oh, like everything's just like a smooth transition. Like, no, like what are we doing? Like, we're just
I so okay. So my biggest problem with Sword Art Online is that it's like sometimes it feels like the author was just making things up. Like, oh my god. I think at one point he realized taking them out of Ironclad was a huge mistake. Right? They should still be the fact that you look on all that, maybe you make Akihiko Kaiba, like he's the one who made the game, making him the true villain because you don't know why he did it. Maybe something bad happened to him. Maybe he went crazy, or maybe he created an AI that went out of control and killed him, and then now he's just the AI is using him, his
yeah,
name, so
that
to
would have
speak.
made more sense.
Yeah. And then the whole time we've been slandering this man, and then we get to the end of the story, like, oh my god, he died when? And at the start of season one, and this AI's been doing everything. And it's just like even
And not what he's still around in season three, right?
yeah, like he's still like he's like a robot or something in season three, which I'm like, all right, what are we doing? What are we doing? Like, uh, I would even use like I would even say Gun Gale. Maybe like that was the government's attempt to like get into the SAO and like pull some players out, and it failed. Like I don't know. Like I'm trying to give like all these different things that I'm thinking about. To like we could have
They
been.
definitely could have made Gun Gale could have been a lot better. It could
Mhm,
have been like something fresh, but like I said, like because again, the idea is good, but
mhm.
the delivery is awful. So it's like they drop the ball again and again, but like
Mhm.
they have nice fights and like they have like easy to follow story and stuff like that. So it's like casuals that like don't know a lot of anime or whatever, like they pick it up and they're like, oh, this is cool or whatever, and they'll watch it. Like my best
That's the
friend, like
problem. It's the casual pick for like best isekai, and I'm like, just I don't know how you can say that and watch Reincarnated as a Slime and say it's not as Reincarnated as a Slime is not better than Sword Art Online. I don't know how
No,
you
but
can do
my best friend, you'll probably meet her in a few weeks. I believe like last year I got her into anime,
that. Hmm.
but like I made her watch like we like made her watch Attack on Titan.
Hmm.
Whatever. Now she's a Attack on Titan encyclopedia. She knows more than I do, or whatever. It's insane. But
Hmm.
then I made a mistake. I left her by herself. I left her by herself. I was like, oh, we talk every day. I was like, oh, what are you doing? She's like, oh, I'm watching Sword Art Online. I'm like, what?
What?
And she's like, yeah, it's really good. I can't tell her nothing about Sword Art Online because she's just like,
Mm.
you're hating on it. But it's just like, I understand. But but like, there's like other friends that like they watch Sword Art Online like as one of their first ones and they hate it. So it's like I feel like a lot of people it is like you either love it or like you realize all the things wrong about it and you tax it for it. Because there are a lot of things I love about Sword Art Online more than probably like some of my favorite animes, but
Hmm.
because of all the wrong things, like I said, it's like C tier. It's like a basic. It's basic. I give it like a 72. But
Yeah, I agree with you, and it hits all like the mind you. I am not a big fan of harms. I am not a big fan of harms. Like the harm is most of the harm is unearned. Like what he hangs out with a day for with Lisbeth, and all of a sudden she's in love with him. Like
yeah,
it, that one is like the worst one of them all, right? He has a baby, so to speak, like a virtual baby that somehow he still saves her because he's a master hacker or whatever. Fine, I guess. Fine, sure. Um, Most of the harm is unearned. Obviously the continuous use of sexual assault as a plot device, which is just bad. Which is just bad.
it
Um,
was. It wasn't that was just bad. It was just like gross, like how they were doing it too. Because like all sexual assault is gross,
mhm.
but it's just like they were just making it like extra slimy for no reason. And it's like, yo, like these situations don't like even need this right now. But you're
They
just like
don't.
you're like forcing the sexual assault thing on a forceful sexual assault situation. It's
God,
like
like even in the Alfheim arc, where like that's a grown ass like 30-year-old man trying to marry like a 16-year-old or 17-year-old
right.
and keeping her hostage and everything. And I'm like,
I feel like it's just like a normal conversation between like a villain and like their capture, and then it's just like, all right, how do we make this more intense? Just throw sexual assault in there. It's just like, okay,
so so I guess looking, what's the next even arc gonna cover? Like, okay, oh, because there's a AI Kirito now. There's an AI Kirito now at the end of the fourth season, and that might be the next villain of the thing. I don't even know if the movies, the rampant movies, are canon. I've only played one Sword Art Online game. That was a Gun Gale one because it was free on Game Pass, and I was like, oh, this is bad, and I dropped it
no, yeah, I
immediately,
played Gun Gale. I
and
didn't I didn't enjoy it.
I did not enjoy it either. But I guess what are some, and I guess in an attempt, I think more as more and more anime people watch it, what are some things that Sword Art Online could do to maybe fix itself? Because when you compare it to Overlord, and we realistically Overlord, you're just watching the villain take over the world, right? Even though he's
Right.
even though he's technically, we understand that he's not truly a villain, but he is the villain compared to the rest of the world. In Slime, um, you're watching a guy create a safe haven for monsters and whatever, but then it
Hmm.
turns out he's also part of a grand conspiracy. Re Zero, I don't know what the hell's happening. I just know it's good. That's how I feel about it. I have to watch Lonnie. I have to watch every Re Zero episode twice because the first time I just
That's
watched it, like
fair.
all right. Then the
That's
second one,
fair.
I'm like, I need to watch it so I
Well,
understand the
I've
plot.
heard that like they've like the second season like strays a lot from like the actual source material, so eventually I do
Hmm.
have to like read it.
Hmm.
But no, I love ReZero. Like I recommend ReZero to a lot of people because it's like one of those like soft traumatic animes that like that's like a rites of passage for a lot of people. Where it's like, like this guy keeps on failing and failing and failing. And like you want it
I, I
because like
feel
you
so
learn
bad
to
for him,
love him.
man.
Yeah, you learn to
Yeah.
love him because like through most of the first season I hated him. I was
Oh,
like, yo,
absolutely.
I'm really just watching this for everybody else but him. And then eventually, like he he kind of grew on me like how Bakugo did, but like I feel like he earned it more than Bakugo did, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
He earned it.
Absolutely.
He earned like he really like went through like the worst. He went through the worst parts of himself, and then
Hmm.
like he like self-reflected, and then he actually like kept on getting better.
Even when he goes through that trial and then he has that conversation with his dad, and I'm like, damn. Like I don't know how many anime could realistically do something like that, you know?
Or even to the point where like in the first season when like he yells at her and saying like, "Oh, like I'm the only one that can save you. I'm doing everything for you. Yada yada yada. You don't even understand. You should be so thankful for me." Like all
Hmm.
his like pride and like self-loathing and like all those emotions just like came out and like he projected it onto her.
Hmm.
And
And
so
she's like, all right, I'm done, and she dips. And then
yeah.
I like how in season two, because I always wonder, like, what happens to all those other times? I guess all those other timelines where he's dead, you know?
Mhm.
And then we in season two we get a glimpse of that. Like the
I
one
know it's
that
based off a game, and so there's like multiple different versions of him depending on like what you do.
Mhm. And the
So
one that
like
always got me was, so remember they kill the, what was it, an octopus kind of thing at the tree, right? They
mhm.
survive even the explosion, and then he comes back and Rem's like, Rem's been basically,
Oh, the
what's
whale
the right
thing,
word?
you mean?
Yeah, the whale thing. And then they come back, so Rem faces one of those, what are they, sins? Are they uh
Yeah, like they're like I think they represent sins like what
yeah, and
gluttony
she
and
yeah, and she gets like, she doesn't get killed, but she gets like erased is the right
right.
word, right? And then he just loses it and murks himself. And then that they show right after that is Emilia. She like runs over, and the old guy is like trying to heal him, but it's too late, right? And she's like, "I thought you said," and I'm like, "You don't understand what they've been through, Emilia, for you to say that." And when Rem, I mind you, I'm still like, I'm a Rem believer. But Rem got that. She had blue hair. She was screwed from the beginning because blue haired anime girls don't really get the dude, which is weird. But
They never do.
they never do. And when Rem was taken away from him, I'm like, y'all don't understand how much of a pillar she was for him. And even in the Isekai quartet, when they put all those guys in the high school, and I'm just
Mhm.
like, how mentally strong is this guy? You know? And I'm like, that he's one of the most mentally strong people, but and even like there's no harm because it's clear who Subaru is going to end up with, but those relationships are so earned, and that's what Sword Art
I feel
Online
like
in
he's
my
so
thinks
strong
did.
because he's so weak.
Exactly.
That's because that's I feel like him realizing that is like where he really gets his strength from. Like he knows he ain't shit,
Hmm.
and so that's why he's able to like rise above because he knows like he's not technically special or whatever. He doesn't have any special powers technically besides him getting reborn and stuff like that. So he uses I don't know, because like, but at the same time, I feel like I understand why some people get like tired of it because like they're like, yeah, we're just seeing this guy lose over and over and over again. But it's like it's the purpose of the journey that I feel like is special about Zero against like other isekais. Now,
So,
Overlord is like I feel like one of my favorites. I feel like it's one of the most underrated
hmm
because like I don't think like he understands like the main character never really understands the degree of what he's doing.
hmm
Because like yeah, he's acting like in the later season, yeah, he acts like tough on like these countries and stuff like that. But I don't think he ever like really understands like the creatures that he created in like a real world space. Because like yeah, like it seemed like his guild was like a bunch of bad guys basically.
yeah,
But like
he fails successfully. That's what Ainz does
yeah,
every single day. He fails successfully, but he's also good enough as a leader and good enough at hiding it because it's so easy. I think the way Overlord is written, it should be also be taught in school because it's so easy to mess that up. It really is. But
right.
you've also seen when the feet is on the fire, like when Shoutier was mind controlled. You saw how capable he truly is. When people are, the minute anybody says anything nasty about Nazareth, his home, they're like, oh, it's a wrap. No questions
Right.
asked, right? And you see how capable he is. And then the way he's able to, I guess, in a way, luckily navigate the political intrigue of the world building in Overlord
Because
is
he's
fantastic.
smart enough and powerful enough to always fall on his feet no matter what the situation, no matter what
Hmm.
situation is. But when I'm talking about like the people currently in his guild, like everybody, they're all
Hmm.
super, except for like maybe one or two, they're all super dark and fucked up.
Hmm.
And I don't think like he understands how messed up they are. Like the creature doll chick that like eats people and stuff like that, or like the twins
Oh
when
my
like the
god. Oh my god.
when the twins broke into that mansion. She's like, oh, I already asked this guy, and like the guy's all mangled. I'm like, yo, what? I'm just like, yo, because like an Overlord seems like really nice, and so it's like something that like you could be like, oh yeah, like your kid can watch this, and then like you see like the little stuff behind the scenes, just like, oh, my kid should never ever watch this. Like,
Mhm. I think because we've seen so many isekais from the hero side that we never truly get a look at the villain side for real. And we're looking
mhm.
at the villain side with Overlord, and like if you were never in imminent danger in Nazarick, you'd have a good time there. Like you'd be fun, you know.
Yeah,
Obviously, I'll you be like I think Shoutier is fantastic, you know. Obviously, you don't want to cross her, right? But I think she's fantastic. Even the fact that when she gets mind controlled and they spend this amazing amount of time showing her that she's still affected by that, like, oh my god, I turned on Ainz and it affects her in season 4. Not just it's not just about obviously the destruction of the kingdom, it's also about her redemption, so to speak, and
right,
how you see how she's grown and as she helps the dwarves and stuff. And I'm like, and also she's, by the way, she's the strongest guardian out of all of them, according to the wiki. She's the strongest one, I think, physically. But what do you call it? But obviously there are other people who could beat her in other ways. So just
right.
seeing her redemption arc, so to speak, was nice. Her and Aura, I love them together all the time. Her and Aura, I love them. But then I want to see more of the twins. Like, you know, we kind of seen Albedo, we've seen Shoutier, we've seen Demiurge in a way. Even Seba's got some love. Now it's time to see, because I know they mentioned it in, I believe, season 4, where the twins, there's an Elven kingdom, and Ainz wants to
Right.
go there with the twins to kind of see what's going on over there. And that's the kind of thing that all these other things that we're talking about, these all these other animes, like that's what Sword Art Online is missing. The world building, it's like it restarts world building all the time. The relationships aren't truly there, except for I guess Kirito and Asuna, right? The side characters, like, they're bland. You
Yeah,
can't
my
just
thing with
uh,
Overlord is like, do you feel like it's a problem that like everyone around Ainz is just so overpowered compared to everybody else? Because eventually it gets like just redundant. Because like like they're never really going to struggle. Because
that
like
that's I
everybody
think
they
we're hitting that point. We're hitting
yeah,
that
because it's
point
like
where
what season we don't know when season five's coming out, but it's like
Mhm,
every time they like have to do something, it's like
mhm.
people are barely laying scratches on them. So it's like what's the so there's no real conflict. It's just like, oh, this is what we have to do. Oh, this is what we have to do. And they
Mhm.
just do it. Like they have no pushback on anything, which
That's
I
I
feel
think
like
yeah, we're hitting that threshold where, mind you, every time we think, um, I think I was about to say so. Overlord does a good thing. Like, for instance, remember when you saw the gun, the mech suit that had the gun? I'm like, oh, okay. And then you're
right.
curious about it, right? But then and we realize that they were never truly in danger, right? It's like one of those things where like they keep introducing these new things that
They think like, oh, this is gonna be a game changer. This is gonna
it's
be
gonna
their
be a game changer
rival.
for the humans, but no, it's not. So you're hitting that threshold where something has to affect them, or we never. But mind you, we never. The one thing Overlord never does, we never truly see all the Guardians in action. It's always one. It's always two, maybe, because and then Ainz also doing the right thing, right, by taking his time because he doesn't know where he's at. Because I feel like in another Isekai, some author just be like, you know what, send them all out, send them all out.
Right.
But now we're hitting that point that hopefully there is something out there. Maybe or not. Maybe he does find a player who does fight for the humans, right? Or maybe he does maybe find his
And
teammates.
even like what that white dragon thing that showed up to fight him and
Mhm.
stuff like that, yeah, it gave him some trouble. But then it's like he's like, all right, let
Or
me
it turned
like
out that it was was it his familiar that he made, the one that he made was actually Ainz the whole time. So I'm like, all right, ah, it was frustrating, but I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. That's
right.
how I feel about um all right. So once again, let's look. Let's. I guess we can say I'll go back to my original question before we went on this tangent about Overlord. What do you think Sword Art Online can do in the future to maybe put itself up there with the elite of the elite?
I feel like they have to like still follow like latest season, like the third
Mhm,
season or whatever. If they follow more along those lines, and they they have to like realize like they can't just like abbreviate plot holes, like plot situations and stuff like that. Like they can't just skip over critical moments. Like I think I remember like in parts of like Sword Art Online, like people get paralyzed with like an ability. Then like
Mhm.
with the power of love or like some other bullshit, like just like break through. I'm like, yo, I'm just like, this is what we doing? This is what we doing? Like, okay. I didn't know we were a fairy tale. But yeah, things like that, like if they take a lot of their cop outs out
Mm.
and like they actually like I feel like they need another like really they need a character that can really like grab you besides
Mm.
Kiriko. They need whether it's a villain, because everyone loves a good villain.
Mhm.
They might need a good villain. They might need a rival, someone stronger than Kiriko that Kiriko
Mhm.
actually has to like elevate himself to, which I feel like hasn't happened. Like he's never really like he's had people that are like, oh, they might be stronger than him at that moment, but then like in the middle of the fight he gets stronger. Like next episode he like overcomes them. Like there's never really like I don't think there's ever really been like a task outside like the very beginning, like when he fights like the Minotaur or whatever, that's like really, really tough. So yeah, I feel like they need like some challenges. They might need to fail, like, hey, maybe kill off Austin or something like that. Like they need like something. They need like a dramatic shift,
I
but
see
at the
what you
same
mean.
time, still stay with the same like
Ironically,
yeah
this just came into my mind right now. Sword Art Online does a lot of things that Dragon Ball Z does with ass pulls in terms of
yeah.
power ups and things like that. By the way, like when we finally learned that he can dual wield, I'm like, why would you hide that? Why would you hide that?
What's the point of hiding that?
Especially if you're the only one that knows how to actually access that ability, which is crazy because other beta testers should know how to do that. But why would you hide that? Why would you hide that at all?
I never
Like,
really got the point of why it was such a big deal.
yeah. Or like when Asuna says, we're gonna lure the monster out to attack the village.
Did I freeze?
Understood that. I never understood that at all. So there's just certain things I'm like, you can do better. You can do better because there are certain parts that are great. The war itself in season 4 is fantastic, I think. Even Asuna realizing that she's technically a god, right? But her powers come with a limit, like that hurt her physically, right?
Right.
Or even Shion when she pops up. Or I remember at one point the last remaining member of Laughing Coffin who hates Kirito for some reason, and then like this guy pulls up and fights with him for 5 minutes and he gets killed, and that's supposed to mean something. I'm like, who the hell is that? I'm like, who is that? Who's that person? Why am I supposed to care about this fight when I
Oh,
don't know
the
who that is?
coffin people that like keep showing up. Like they never really got into them.
Yes.
Like we never really got to learn anything about them. They just show up and like do their thing and then they dip. And we're just like, that's it.
And I guess we get a little bit of backstory that there was this massive fight to finish off Laughing Coffin once and for all. But we get that in flashbacks. Why is that not an arc in itself? Why? Okay, so that and then the fact that two of them are still left because they didn't wipe them all out, and those two guys are the perpetrators of season 2. That is a good plot point that is wasted. Oh, I'm so frustrated. Just frustrated thinking about it.
So,
Um, But
there's
I
so
guess
many
maybe
things
this
wrong.
AI Kirito, because you're just gonna get a Kirito who fights himself, because I think they're also running out of potential villains unless Akiko Kayaba, now that he's a robot, comes back and goes back to being a villain again, even though ironically he had a girlfriend, which we learned in season 4, or somebody that he was with before he died. There's
Yeah,
that.
my thing with like them running out of villains is that they never made a good enough villain base to start off. Like if they made like we talked about before, like if they made like an AI that actually replaced the guy, or if they
Mhm,
made like a a like a evil like a truly evil guild that was behind everything, or
mhm,
something like that, like or some secret organization that like everyone's fighting like secretly fighting it like really fighting against.
mhm.
Like if they did something like that in the beginning, but now it's just like they set themselves up where it's like now you're just grasping at straws for a villain. So it's either now you have to make a whole new villain or pull something out your ass. So
I agree with you. It just sucks. I am intrigued with some of the government stuff that they do in Sword Art Online. That I'm like, I want to see where you go with this. But it's also weird that what at this point, when Kirito's 19, right?
mhm,
19. We don't really see him being affected by what happened to him in SAO or Gun Gale or whatever. Like, you got to show that this stuff affects him. He's watching people die
right.
legitimately. And I'm like, he's just what, a super tank? Like, and that's the one thing, like, to just glaze Mushoku Tensei for a bit. Think about his even at the end of part 1 of season 2, his his first life still affects him. His first life still affects him to up to that moment, and it's just like I just can't tell you how great this is. Like,
Also,
you're
did you
watching
hate
supreme
at the
character
end of
development.
season 2, like how he got paralyzed and everything like that?
I mean, I didn't like it, but I was like, at least there's something going on, right? He finally fought somebody in a way that he didn't come out unscathed. That's why I was so interested in season 4 or is it season 3? I was so interested in season 3 because I'm like, okay, how are you going to do this without your main character? We got a lot of Alice moments, which I like Alice as a character, right? I like
Hmm.
Alice as a character. Like I said, it gave a lot of other characters moments to shine. Obviously, Asuna got a lot of love. Shion got a lot of love. Um, but we got to see even the knights that we meet in that who are part of that world. We got to see them. And also another thing, Lonnie, they just so they show that was it Kirito decides to stay, right? Because he's like, get him out of there, right? And then Kirito decides to sacrifice himself, and then Asuna sacrifices. We don't. They say that they spend 200 years in
Hmm.
that world, becoming like the king and queen. I want to see that. How do they change that world? Because when they come back, they're like in jets. They're in jets fighting in outer space. I'm like, what is this? Right?
Rocket
How do you just take that away? How do you just take that?
I feel
I
like the
want to see
author,
that.
like he just like has a good idea, and he just like, I want to hurry up and get to it, so let me just plop it right here.
Oh,
Like
oh my god! I mean, we could
it's
do this all day, and obviously it's good. It's made by UFO Table, and we see what UFO Table can do with a good story in Demon Slayer, right? So it's definitely going to get the funding and all that. But ironically, it's crazy to think that Sword Art Online feels like it took a step back in that studio's eyes to Demon Slayer. They're just cranking out that story. It's like every 9 months the new season drops. That's
yeah,
what it
like
feels like.
it's their big money maker, so they're gonna.
And they know, and the studio has shown that they know how to they can add great stuff to a story, and it works, right? Demon Slayer has benefited from it,
Yeah,
but
unfortunately, we're gonna get what, like three more movies or something like that.
for Demon Slayer, are they
Yeah,
doing
like
movies?
I think they said the last arc they're gonna break down. It's like 3 movies,
I don't like that. I don't
but
like
it's gonna
that.
be a moneymaker for them. And so but what I don't like,
Mm,
I also hate this about the whole anime manga industry
hmm.
is like basically the abuse and like the what's the right word I'm looking for?
Exploitation.
Yeah, exploitation of these authors and stuff like that. I think the if I look at I think like the author of Demon Slayer, she only made like a few $1,000
Which is
off of
crazy,
the movie.
which is crazy because Demon Slayer, like I mentioned it on PC Anime, which we'll talk about at the end of this video. That they teach that in schools in Japan. Demon Slayer is literally being taught in schools. Like they use that to teach kids in school. So its impact is crazy. But oh my goodness. To take advantage of her like that. And that movie was the number one movie on the planet at one point,
Yeah,
right? Mugen
so it's
Train?
the most successful anime movie of all time. Made
Mm-hmm.
$500 million.
Mm-hmm.
She made $17,380.
What?
17,380. It made $500 million, and she made 17 grand.
You could even slide
That
her a
is
couple mil?
that is criminal,
Oh
and
my
this happens all.
god.
That is criminal.
We already know how taxing the industry is on its workers, right? Kentaro Miura dying, like legitimately solidified that as like, and you heard about his schedule, right?
Hmm.
Kentaro Miura's schedule and how he wrote Berserk for 20 years, and God, he just couldn't do it. And then ironically, he was getting healthier, but his body was like, bro, we've gone as far as we can, and that was it. Like Horikoshi with My Hero Academia, and how his body has been failing him, and how it feels like a lot of parts of this final saga or arc has been rushed because it feels like he's just trying to get to the end.
With Hunter x Hunter though, and that author,
Mm-hmm.
he made Yu Yu Hakusho,
Mm-hmm.
and like, that's when he started having these health problems. And then,
Mm-hmm.
but he said with Hunter x Hunter, "Hey, if my health keeps failing, I don't mind my wife finishing it for me." His
Mm-hmm.
wife made Sailor Moon.
I
His
mean,
wife
that is
made Sailor Moon.
tough.
So, like the most famous female mangaka of all time.
Mm-hmm.
you clearly for the past like 5-6 years have not been healthy enough to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Please give it to your wife and your assistants. Like,
well, I will say this: maybe his wife is like, "Look, I don't want to do it because I want to help take care of you." You know, maybe that's what's going on.
yeah, but
But
like she could still at least help him, like do it with him,
mm,
like do it like, and I don't. He can also like give more. He can also give like more responsibility to like his assistants because like assistants, especially nowadays when it comes to mangakas, they're just as impactful in terms of like the drawing aspect at as the mangaka itself. Like I what the creator of Hell's Paradise was like assistant for Chainsaw Man and stuff
mm,
like that. Like I believe Oda helped with Rurouni Kenshin back
mm,
in the day. So it's like these are all professionals. So it's like they can like, and nowadays with like how they do like digitally and stuff like that, you can just tell them what you want and they can just do it for you. Like I don't feel like it's definitely as strenuous as it was. Like our friend Ty, like he's drawing nonstop every day. But it's like when you have like 4 or 5 other professional assistants that can like make their whole own stories and stuff like that, I don't see why Hunter x Hunter can't be like a weekly or monthly like a lot of these others are. Instead
like,
of us every four or
mm.
5 months getting like 5 paragraphs with like 2 pictures. Like I
Well,
don't know.
ironically, we've seen the industry, and I'm not saying this is a good thing. It's only because it felt like they were being forced to, right? But we've seen the industry, like we've seen, like Horikoshi himself. He's taken a lot of breaks, right? A lot of breaks because of his health. And I wonder, maybe 20 years ago they wouldn't do that. They're like, you just got to power through, man. And whatever happens, happens.
They're a
So
lot
we've
better
seen that.
now.
Even with Black Clover, Tabata is his name Tabata, his last name Tabata,
I
the
believe
mangaka
so.
for Black, like he was starting, his health was starting to fail at the
Also,
end
like
of.
he was having anxiety, depression problems. He just had a
Mhm,
kid, so
mhm.
like they're like, hey, well, with Black Clover itself, I feel like there's a lot of Shonen Jump political stuff going on
Mhm.
because yes, it's popular, but it also doesn't sell a lot for some reason. Like a lot of times, like when you look at the monthly sales, Black Clover
Mhm.
would not sell as much as like My Hero or JJK or anything. Like it was
Or
usually like bottom three, like bottom tier in terms of manga sales for shonen. But at the same time, when Black Clover first came out, they wanted that and My Hero to be like the next Naruto, Bleach, whatever.
mhm.
So they pumped a lot of promotion money into Black Clover. I love Black Clover, but for
I'm
some
also
reason,
a fan of Black Clover.
a lot of people do love Black Clover, but for some reason, it doesn't make Shonen Jump a lot of money. But at the same time, it makes them just enough money to keep going. So when he was coming with all these problems, I feel like they were just like they almost put him into like a Bleach like Type Kubo situation, just like, hey, we don't want to cancel you because you've been one of our staples, but you
Mhm.
need to hurry up.
I guess I wonder why it's also. Do you think that how much that played into him wanting to leave? You know what I mean, and wanting to end the story. Even though I legitimately think that Black Clover is a prequel, and at a certain point he's going to come back and write this. There's so much left unread. What about Charmy? Right?
Hmm.
What about the rest of the world? We've only got a little bit of the world, right? What about the rest of the world? The elves, right? What are you doing with the elves? The rest, even the continent itself, the Spade Kingdom, the Diamond or the Diamond Kingdom, like what are you gonna
There's
do
so
with
much you
that?
can do.
There's so much he can still do. So I still think he's gonna come back at some point in the future after he finishes. And I think
Also,
this.
that movie was incredible with all the Wizard Kings and stuff like that. Like, I want more of their stories because, like, you get, like I read like the little synopsis on their stories. So like, oh, these are all fucked up stories. Like,
Mhm.
I want to know more about them and stuff like that. So yeah, like there's a lot of material there. But like with Shonen Jump, like rushing him and stuff like that, like how they did with Tight Kubo and Bleach, we might never get it because like they burned Kubo out. They burned Kubo,
It's a damn shame. It's
which
a
is like
damn.
why the last arc of Bleach was so rushed because like Shonen was like, "Hey, Naruto's ending. Hurry up, hurry up, hurry up." So and that now he doesn't want to release his next arc because he's like, "Yo, I don't want to get rushed. I don't want to get that pressure again. I don't want to deal with these people."
Mhm.
So yeah, Shonen Jump. I feel like yeah, they're the biggest company, but they also like put their hands into the material a little bit too much. So
Which I agree with you. Which I agree with you. So one thing I also wanted to kind of go into one last I guess one last thing, and the reason why, another reason why we made this video, Lonnie and I have we're collaborating with three other individuals to make the Black Sensei Society podcast. We're going to be talking about all things anime. And it's one of the main reasons why I've been absent from my channel for so long. I am so excited, Lonnie, to sit down and rap with you guys. It's been an honor to kind of get to know you guys over the few months. Obviously, me and you talking about our interests, our shared interests in anime.
Mm-hmm.
What's crazy, like I've known you for what? A few months now for real.
I think
And
maybe just a month.
yeah, about a month, and I'm like, man, this man Lonnie out here just cooking all the time with his thing. Even though that Krillin versus the Naruto verse conversation yesterday was crazy, you
I
were
was
so hot. You were like, I'll let everything
because
else slide.
I wasn't even trying to do it. I was like just gonna try to leave it alone. But then they just started saying some bullshit. So it's like, yo, let me hibachi these niggas real quick. Like, let me just. And we're gonna see on PC anime, like, because I'm gonna bring it up because I need some answers. They've had like what 24 hours. I need some answers. They don't give me no answers, then it's gonna be a long podcast for them. It's gonna be
Be on the
long.
lookout for the Black Sensei Society. So if you look at the description of this video, all the links are there. I'm talking Spotify, Apple Podcasts, the YouTube channel. Was it Google Podcasts, Amazon? So it's on auto already, man. Riddell put in some work, right?
Yeah, he did.
He put in some work, getting everything ready. Shout out to Ty for drawing this amazing image, right? Guess
I'm the
which
crazy
one is?
I'm the crazy one, bottom right, of course.
And I'm the one with his back turned with the headband, with the purple headband, on top. Pause, major pause, Lonnie. But we're so excited. Our first episode is on Tuesday, and we are talking about. Did we lock down the topic for the first episode? Is it the top Deuteronomy? Like
I think it's top Deuteronomist.
Deuterogenist. I know this because of the Bago video. Deuterogenist, basically the top second most important, like second main character in anime. We're talking Vegeta, we're talking Bakugo, we're talking Yuno. Even though Riddell, listen to my voice, Yuno is not that good. We talk about ass pulls for Bakugo, we don't see Yuno for arcs, and he just comes back with ridiculous power-ups that are ridiculous. My main problem with Yuno is that we don't see the struggle. We don't see the struggle for Yuno.
Struggle.
He just comes back powered up.
It's supposed to be a part of his character, but at the same time, it's not done well.
Absolutely. So if you got other ones, we're gonna be talking about all of them on Tuesday. I believe it is. What time do we say? 10:30 Eastern. It's gonna be a late 9.
Yeah, I think it's at 9.
9 Eastern, 6 Pacific. If you live in another time zone, figure it out. But it's gonna be there. We're going live immediately on the Black Sensei Society channel. So we're gonna be going crazy. We're gonna be arguing immediately because me and Lonnie will not stop slandering Bakugo and for J-Rob.
Don't get it wrong. I love Bakugo, but the glaze,
is crazy,
and the plot armor bullshit that's been happening. No, I can't.
Lonnie, ever since, well, for those of you who are going to read the newest chapter that's coming out now, Lonnie, ever since you said it about, I guess spoilers, that Edshot didn't truly save Bakugo. Bakugo saved himself. He was like the missing piece. So some sweat went into his bloodstream, and
like a sweat ball that like ignites, goes into his bloodstream, ignites his lungs and his heart to start him up again.
And Lonnie said it. It's like, okay, we've seen this man bleed like most of the damn show. How is he still alive? And I was like, damn, Lonnie kind of cooking for him.
Yeah, we also see him. So like, wait, so what if it didn't go into his lungs and his heart? Would he have an aneurysm if it went up to his brain?
Exactly, Lonnie. Exactly. And this is where I not asked this question in the Bakugo video. I think this is because why the last arc of My Hero Academia is being rushed is because of his health. It's because of Horikoshi's health. And I said there, My Hero Academia is so popular. Can you not just take a break real quick? Let the man rest and actually have a chance to plan this out.
Also, it's because of those feral ass My Hero fans. Like y'all are disgusting. Disgusting. And some of them need to be locked up. So I feel like he's scared. I feel like low key he wanted to kill off Bakugo, and then he probably got like a million death threats. And then he's just like, all right, you know what? I can't do this.
When it happened, I was like, okay. I was like, I'm surprised, but I like it. I like it. And maybe like later in the fight when him and Deku were fighting, maybe something that Bakugo did to Shigaraki would have been the key for Deku to win, right?
Mm-hmm.
But of course, Bakugo's back, and now you got those allegations like nobody ever dies in in My Hero Academia because I don't even know how Edshot's still alive. I don't even know how he's alive, but he's alive. So I'm like, all right, bro, what are we doing? What are we doing
I
here?
mean, they did kill off Night.
Night Eye,
Yeah,
but
but that was about it.
that was what season 3, season 3 if you're going by the anime. So
Yeah, but they want to call Black Clover Disney Clover and all that. But like Bakugo living, not even he's thriving at this point. He's thriving.
he's gonna beat All for One, and he's gonna use One for All, and I'm gonna be pissed. That's J Rob. When you listen to this, that's gonna happen. It's going to happen, and I am not happy about it. I am not a fan at all.
We'll see. We'll see what happens because if he does use his One for All, or like he uses like he's able to somehow access like his ancestors' quirk or whatever, that uh I don't
Lonnie,
even know what I'm gonna
yeah,
say.
Lonnie,
I don't even know.
you and I are in the same. We're simpatico on this. So anyway, guys, make sure to check out the Black Sensei Society podcast. Drop in Tuesday night at 9 o'clock. We immediately starting off with some heat. The best deuterogenist in anime. Like I said, Vegeta, Bakugo, you can name all of them. And ironically, I think I'm maybe the oldest one out of all of y'all, but I'm the youngest anime watcher in terms of
Hmm.
experience. So I'm gonna be learning a lot. Plus, I'm gonna start watching Bleach because you all love Bleach, and y'all was talking about it the other day, and I haven't watched it yet because I can only do one big one at a time. And right now, I'm watching One Piece, and I'm very frustrated with Luffy. He's just a character because he reminds me of Michael Scott from The Office, and I hate
Right.
Michael Scott from The Office. So, but I'm gonna keep going because I understand its importance to anime, to the anime industry, and there are realistically there are also a lot of really great story moments
No, my
that I
only thing
enjoy.
with Bleach that I tell everybody before watching this that it does start off slow for a lot of people. It does start
Mhm.
off slow, and then
Yeah.
like eventually does kick up, and then once it kicks up, oof, oof.
All right. All right. Thank you, Lonnie, so much for coming on.
Of
We
course.
talked about Sword Art Online for a little bit. They're not gonna fix it. We're just gonna have the same problems, aren't we, with that series, aren't
Oh, they're definitely not fixing it.
we? Yeah, they're gonna have a new waifu that's gonna, and all of a sudden maybe Shion will lose importance, and that's when I will have a for real fucking problem with the series because Shion is the only reason that keeps me coming back. If I'm being 100% honest, she's the only reason I keep coming back. And I'm gonna get mad about it because we thought his cousin would be important, and then after Alpha, she immediately lost importance. Immediately. So
I do have a slight hope if they continue based off like the third season, if they continue to like putting out content like that,
mhm.
then I feel like it can get better. Do I feel like the overall product will be better? No. But I
Mm.
feel like they can slightly move in the right direction. But it's going to depend on the next season.
All right. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. I am going to be back soon. The one, to get let you know, the 1 hour Bakugo video is almost done. Finishing touches, plus talking to Tyler, ironically, Lonnie had me. I was like, okay, I gotta add this to the video, Gotta add a little extra thing to the video. So it's almost done, and then I'm gonna drop that. That'll be like my magnum opus on Bakugo because I still one of the biggest videos on my channel, Lonnie, where I did remember Yasuke, the anime Yasuke on Netflix,
Yeah.
and I did a 1 hour thing on that, and I basically it wasn't good, right? It wasn't good. And then after
That,
that,
that was the Black Samurai, right?
yeah, and I was so mad about how bad Yasuke was. And then I was watching My Hero Academia right after that. I was like, you know what? Fuck this guy. And I just made like a 10-minute video, like off the cuff, ranting about Bakugo. And that one, and I'm telling you, to this day, there's still people commenting on that video, like, thank you. Thank you for saying what we've all been thinking. So and ever since then, I was like, I'm gonna have to make a real
I
video,
have so many gripes with the Yasuke though, because like Yasuke was a real person, and the next thing you know, like I'm a few episodes in, I'm seeing robot niggas and people with lasers and magic. I'm just like, how did we get here? It was
The problem is the
oh
problem with
my god.
Yasuke, and I will tell you, go ahead and watch that video too, Lonnie, and tell me what you think, like off, like in our private chat. But the problem with Yasuke is that it's a lot. It relies on a lot of anime. It just was it like you had a good story there, right? But then they started doing a lot of anime tropes. Like they still had the fact that Yasuke has to settle into being a samurai in Japan and all this, and like they also trample on actual Japanese history too. And I'm a big history buff, Lonnie.
I love
So
history.
that bothered me a lot. And I legitimately, like, even in the video, I take like a little tangent to talk about important characters, like important characters and what they actually did in history and why this is a problem with the show. And that's why it only got one season. And it's like the author didn't believe enough and they just try to pack as much into it because the whole story is technically done in 6 episodes, which is crazy in itself, including a
Netflix has
20-year
been doing
time
pretty good
skip
with that though.
and a 20-year time skip and magic's not being explained well. The villain sucks. Oh, don't get me back on that. I was so disappointed in Yasuke. So disappointed. So anyway, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Lonnie, thank you so much for coming on. We'll see you guys on Tuesday. Bakugo video coming soon. I got an MCU review on the MCU current state coming soon and talking about how it's actually even incredible that even made it this far. And ironically, the MCU is just getting worse and worse, Lonnie. But that's a whole nother discussion.
We don't.
But yeah, I got that. And then Bleach. I'm gonna start watching Bleach. I'm going live, watching a few like batch episodes of Bleach at a time, and then obviously I'm gonna do that on the Black Sensei thing, but also I'm gonna do it on this channel. Anyway, basically all I'm saying is that I got a lot of content coming soon, and then be on the lookout for the year in review videos because that one I'm gonna do something different. And those, Lonnie, are those are my favorites because you just kind of get to sit down and talk about all the great anime that came out this year. And this year, 2023, was
There was
amazing.
a lot. There was a lot.
Hell, Eminence and Shadow was so good they decided to give us a double dip in 1 year. Goddamn. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you, Lonnie. We'll see you guys soon. Bye, guys.